The short answer of it is you have to have constant communication between your engineering team, your sales team, and your leadership team. And it's very complicated when you have 40 or 50 engineers building and you got salespeople driving cycles with new requirements. We have what I call over communication from
Mhm.
sales to engineering, right? And we have them on a lot of calls, which is not a best practice, but it's the only way that we could meet the requirements on these timelines and work at this speed.
Welcome. I'm your host, Karan Mehta, and today my guest is Brendan Card, founder and CEO of Terzo, an AI powered contract and spend intelligence platform. With over a decade of experience in enterprise tech sales, Brendan built this company believing in making data dance and is on a mission to turn stale contract data into a strategic advantage. Welcome, Brandon.
Karan, good to see you, my friend. Very excited to be here and have afternoon coffee with you. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, awesome, man. I was really looking forward for this conversation. So really appreciate. I know you're all around the world. So thanks for making the time. I just thought, Brendan, to kick us off, could you just introduce Terzo a bit more and most importantly, share your journey from a big portfolio manager to founding CEO?
Absolutely. Yeah. So you hit the nail on the head. Terzo is AI contract and spend intelligence. So what that means is that our core competency is reading contract data with AI, extracting all of that data for our customers and putting analytics around it for procurement, finance, supply chain to track all of those relationships across the supply chain, all those dollars that are baked into those PDFs. And the reason why we founded Terzo, as you know, because I've worked with you more than 10 years ago at Microsoft. We saw this problem every day at Microsoft, customers asking for the Microsoft contracts, not having the updated amendments, not knowing the master agreement terms. Huge problem. We saw a gap in the market that finance procurement teams needed this contract data to make smarter decisions. That's exactly who we help. And we're 5 years old now, really excited about our future, really excited and proud of what we've accomplished. But we have a big challenge ahead.
Wonderful. Thanks for indulging there. So I gotta ask this, right? To your point, I have been following you and just been super impressed. And the question I have is, you guys probably one of the companies who has been really rooted in AI ML innovation. But just curious with all this rapid acceleration of Gen AI over the
Sure.
past couple of years. Just curious, how has it reshaped your strategy and approach? Being an AI first company.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's actually been a positive thing. All this AI hype and all this positive trends we've been seeing in, consumer AI and enterprise AI. And we started the company, like I said, in March 2020. And really, the very beginning of the pandemic. And we were out socializing the idea of Terzo as an AI powered SaaS platform for contracts, vendor management, supplier management, all those types of things. And back then, there wasn't a lot of familiarity with the AI there is now, right? So we were going to build a neural net. Everyone was confused what that even was, right? Back then in 2020, 2021, everyone was getting excited about crypto and Bitcoin and Ethereum and everything. Crypto was hot at that moment, if you remember, right? And AI wasn't hot. And then the next year, all of a sudden, the metaverse became hot. And then all the investors were like, oh, I love the metaverse. Everyone got excited about the metaverse, was told to be a bunch of nonsense, right? So every year they jumped on these bandwagon trends like they always do. AI didn't hit yet. So we were out pitching AI and everyone's like, what are you trying to do? You need $20 million to go build AI to read documents? I'm like, yeah. It's a $3 trillion problem. It's a massive problem. It's one of the biggest data problems in the enterprise. And investors really didn't understand what we were trying to do. All of a sudden, you fast forward to 23, OpenAI, ChatGPT comes out, people are using it at home, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, wow, AI does work. Oh, wow, maybe people can use AI. Maybe this is a space that we got to invest in now. Maybe now is a good time. So, ChatGPT, Gemini, all the consumer apps that came out gave normal people the confidence that this stuff works, which helped people understand, oh yeah, Terzo is building this type of AI to read documents and provide analytics into contract data and spend data. Okay, now I understand how this can be applied in the world. So all of a sudden, the last, call it 12 to 18 months, conversations have been much different about Terzo and about our value prop and about how we built our AI and about how we, serve our customers. So I would tell you that this hotness in AI has been positive tailwind for us with investors, with customers, and with recruiting as well, recruiting great people like yourself.
Love it, love it. So it seems like the democratization of AI is sort of becoming a tailwind for you all, right?
Yeah, and we're talking like this is a podcast where we're talking lessons too, right? We're trying to give people like good information they can't get anywhere, right? And here's good information. This is psychology. We'll talk a lot about psychology today when it comes to sales and, working with customers, right? People never want to be the first one buying something or trying something. They always want to have the comfort and safety to know that product is tested and its quality, and they want to be able to jump on the bandwagon later when it is think it's safer. Every person that we essentially interface with in the enterprise makes decisions to not get fired, which means they're not going to bring AI in day one and take that risk. As you know from your Microsoft experience, they need everyone else to do it too, and everyone else to be mainstream. Then they have every CEO in the world saying, "We're using AI. We need to use AI." Then all of a sudden, everyone jumps on board. So your lesson as an entrepreneur is that it has nothing to do with your product. It has nothing to do with your marketing strategy. It has nothing to do with your pricing. It has nothing to do with any of that stuff. So don't get down on yourself. Sometimes the market is just not there yet. The timing is very important because buyers are on their journey and they have to be comfortable in a position and have the safety and approvals to even use technology like Terzo or any type of AI. So the timing, Karan, right now is very, very good because of all these trends we've seen, all this adoption, all this talk about AI. I mean, it's really now it's hotter than I thought it would be in the summer of 25.
Fantastic. So let me take you a bit back, right? You stated, you and your co-founders looked at the contract management space in like 2020. So
Now we looked
I'm
at it
curious.
actually 2016 onward.
Wow,
And we were all confused because every time you ask someone what CRM they're using, everyone says Salesforce. Every time you ask someone what financial system they're using, everyone says SAP. Every time you ask them what you're, doing for database, they say Oracle. And you ask them what you're doing for contracts, you get 80 different answers.
that's a good one. So then my question was like, so what unmet needs kind of jumped out at you and your co-founders, and how, I'm just curious, that insight sort of shaped to Terzo's vision.
So the number one need we saw, the number one problem we saw from a business perspective was that none of the contract systems in the market had financial insights. They had no financial data. It was all because think about it. If you're a big company, you're signing 2,000 contracts a year, you have to key in all this financial data into forms into a CLM that was built in like 2005. A really bad experience. So no one gets that data input, and this financial data has to be manually reviewed. There's a 100-page contract. How are you going to get on your Microsoft MSA for a $100 million MSA with all these different SKUs of Microsoft stuff? How are you going to put the financial data into a CLM? There's
Hmm.
really nowhere to put the data. That's the gap we saw. It was just a repository like SharePoint. Basically, that's what CLMs are. They're glorified SharePoints, right? So we're like, wait a second. All the financial data is in the documents. All the financial data is in the PDFs. No one's got the financial data.
Yeah,
And everyone lives off the GL. So
yeah.
I had to sit down with my founders. I'm like, guys, you understand how big this is? And they're like, this is the stupidest thing we've ever seen. And we literally used that word because we felt like this is so stupid. How does the world operate like this? Because we're trying to build our own company. And my co-founder, Pradeep, he was running a very large engineering team at a company about to go public, managing 50 vendor contracts. And he's like, I think they're in my Google sheet. I don't even know where they are. And we're about to get audited to go IPO. I don't even know when these contracts expire. I don't know how much money that we've committed to them. I don't know the terms of the contracts. He's like, it's in a Google sheet somewhere. So he's like, and that's not the right way to do it. So he's like, if I'm doing it in a Google sheet, well, these big corporations would probably have 25 Excel spreadsheets.
Hmm.
We thought, wow, this is a big business problem. And then what really triggered me, and I probably told you this many times, I was always yapping about this and always excited about this problem. McKinsey and Bain and Deloitte, the smart people are all like, this is a $3 trillion problem. I'm like, this is a $3 trillion problem and no one's trying to solve this?
Wow.
DocuSign, with all due respect, DocuSign is trying to solve this. Like, good luck. Like, oh, you know what I mean? And like, that's the best player in the space. We're glad to compete with DocuSign, anyone else in that CLM category for that matter. And that's exactly what we said. Hey, we're going to go put all the contracts in Terzo in a new category. Finance is going to own the contracts because contracts are financial assets. They're not legal documents. And that's our position. And that's our view in the world.
Interesting. So you guys really honed on that job to be done. What's the pain point, and just go at it. And that's fantastic. So let me ask you sort of again a follow up. Early stage startups, I have seen your journey, live or die by their MVPs. So given the scope, I'm just curious, how did you, with those limited resources in the early stages, decided like, okay, these are the features we got to build up and show the customer? And just curious what feedback you kind of got, and how did you decide what to
Yeah,
really
that
get
was hard.
kind
I
of
mean, the truth is we did a terrible job at deciding, right? Because we're like, "Oh, there's these 5 things that everyone needs. Let's try to do too much." Like every, young entrepreneur, you do too much and you're not focused. And that our lesson was that afterward we learned when we got our first customer deployed, the number one use case that everyone had was contract renewal tracking. And that is very simple use case, but no one was doing it with automation.
Mhm.
Why? Because no one had the start dates and the end dates and all the terms and all the triggers in the contract, the metadata. We were realizing, wait a second, every customer, doesn't matter if you're in healthcare, finance, manufacturing, tech, retail, they all need to track their renewals and they all don't have a system to do it. We realized, wait, let's just go build the best solution for contract renewal tracking with nice dashboards, nice insights, nice workflows, alerting, all that kind of stuff. And then we'll solve the number one problem for all of our customers. And we learned that a little bit late, to be honest. I wish I learned that earlier and I wish we just focused on that. But then when we learned that, we got the product team, the engineering team together and said, this is all we need to do is build a really good renewal tracking system, make sure we have a great search and renewal tracking capability. So that's the job to be done, right? And I'll give credit to our COO and president, Eric, who's brilliant. And he always brought in the frameworks from, HBR and other methodologies and said, what is the job to be done of our stakeholder? What are they trying to accomplish every day? And how does Terzo help them accomplish that faster or easier? And so we work backwards with that job to be done. And the job to be really done is sourcing and procurement. It's tracking 250 renewals a
Mhm.
month if you're at a big company like Home Depot. It's tracking thousands of renewals per year if you're at a tech company. So it's a high volume activity, but that's the number one thing that we realized our customers needed. So we zeroed in and really spent a lot of time making sure that that solution was great.
That's fantastic. I think you have, you have alluded a couple times now, 3 trillion problem worth solving, So just curious, when it comes to funding, what was sort of the narrative, the refined narrative from you and the co-founders when you did start approaching VCs that, hey, guys, this is not just a startup idea. This is something worth listening. So just curious, what was that approach and what was the narrative to kind of
So
get that support with?
the narrative was simple. Like the narrative, I still have the same narrative today, actually. Contracts are financial assets, need to be managed by the CFO and his people or her people. Contracts are not legal documents. They should not be managed by the legal team. That is
Can you
the
repeat that one?
that is
Can
the
you repeat that
global
one more time for me? Can you repeat that one more time for me?
yeah. Contracts are financial assets that need to be owned and managed by the CFO and their
Love it.
team.
Love it.
Contracts are not legal documents and not to be managed by legal people and lawyers in the back office behind the firewall. Point of view with investors, and I said, investors, do you understand this? Many of them are like, no. Why? Because they never operated in a big organization. They don't know how operations work in companies. They just invested and got an MBA somewhere nice. The other investors that actually operated and a company or worked at a big company, they know this data problem. They know the contracts are siloed in 25 different systems. They know no one's got a central place to search. They know there's no financial data out of the contracts. They know they're not prepared for audits, compliance issues, on and on and on and on. So that's the crowd that really bought into the narrative of, wow, you're going to go bring contract data to the CFO. I thought it was crazy, right? We're the first company in the world that wants to bring contracts to the CFO.
Mm-hmm.
It's common sense.
Mm-hmm.
But Gartner and everyone else is like, no, 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 contracts belong in legal. Contracts belong in legal. And I will bet my life and my career that that is wrong. Need to be owned by the finance and business team. So
Totally.
that is the narrative we had. And we had to keep explaining this to people. But I can tell you, hundreds of investors don't get it. They didn't get it. And they still don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's their problem because they're going to miss $100 billion opportunity. The people that get it, they know this business is massive. They know this business is Oracle size. This is a data layer that is actually so precious
Mm-hmm. Cheating,
that
yeah.
there's a high probability it's more important than the Oracle database in the future because it's got all the financial data, all your revenue, all your expenses, all your partnership deals. Basically, the lifeline of your business, your central nervous system
Yeah.
is in these documents.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, the goal is kind of get that first paying customer, for a startup. Let's get going and let's expand, grow, and expand the business. And it's pretty interesting. Like your first logos included sort of Fortune 500 sort of companies, right? So I'm just curious for the listeners out there,
Fortune 100 too.
Fortune, there you go, right? So just curious, how did you break into these accounts without a proven sort of a track record? So just curious, what was sort of your strategy there?
Because I worked with guys like you. That's why. You know what I mean? Like, I worked with brilliant guys like you for years, and I was in the meetings with these customers at another job, right? I was at IBM before, I was at Oracle, I was at Microsoft. I had great exposure, great experience getting into these, complicated projects, understanding what procurement cares about, understanding that what IT cares about, knowing the IT landscape and stack of software that's already installed, understanding where budgets are going. I understood the macro issues, and really it was difficult to go outbound to these companies cold. Even I'm like, hey, I came from Microsoft. I saw this problem. We're solving it. I'd love to share the story with you and get some feedback. And that's really what we did early on was going into companies like Home Depot and Wells Fargo and Blue Cross Blue Shield type of companies and saying, hey, we have a great idea and vision. You're the experts in the space. Help us kind of refine our product. We'll give you a great deal. And that was the pitch, right? And kudos to these great customers because they were mavericks. I call them mavericks because they wanted to be first. They were the ones who were down to take the risk. They're our type of people. We love high risk people because we're high risk, right? So some of these customers were like, we want to try this right away. We want to see this AI. We're like, okay, let's do this. We'll give you the product super cheap. You work with us, help us build our roadmap. Be a great collaboration. But I'll tell you what, me and Al, RIP to our brother Al, love him to death. He and I were hammering executive teams like, I don't know, 50 times a day, maybe 250 outbound messages a week. They were high quality, personalized messages in the beginning. We were blasting 1,000 people a month, getting probably 20, 30 meetings.
Hmm.
We met with so many people that didn't buy anything too. And the thing is we were always just telling them, hey, we want to tell you why we're building Terzo. We want to tell you why we threw our lives away and went to go build Terzo. I had a beautiful job at Microsoft on the Karan Mehta's team, working with, Dwayne and all these great people here in Southern California, and the stock is going up like, I don't know, 10x since we got hired there. I could have had a nice life just chilling, working. It's 5 weeks vacation. Instead, I'm like, no, I want to go work 100 hours a week and, sacrifice everything.
But
So
I do feel, I think that that's the firm commitment you had, right? I mean, the vision and the commitment, and I think the growth I have seen personally, I mean, it's been commendable. But that makes sense. So can take hustle out. Seemed like there was a lot of hustle.
a lot of hustle, a
Anything
lot of humble hustle. I see that. A lot of humble hustle. That's right. That's right.
Just curious, what anything else stands out, right? Again, I mean, I know that you're trying to simplify, even like what you just stated. I'm sure there is a whole lot of work which went in, but anything else kind of stood out, and especially again for listeners who have startups and trying to break into these enterprises organization. What would be other some recommendations or advice you might have?
The other recommendation is that one, you have to have a strong point of view. You have to have a strong point of view to get people at a big enterprise to talk to you, and you have to have some credibility behind that point. So you have to have either some, experience in that field, or you have to have some great data facts to share with them. My coaching and my advice to other people is that there's so many different areas inside the enterprise that are ripe for disruption. And those stakeholders internally that work at these companies know it. And a lot of times they're looking for solutions behind the scenes and they're not talking to vendors, but they're still browsing and shopping. Your job is to just meet them on their journey and just give them information and quality information, quality content, quality points of view, educate them, be a guide. That's my advice. All they're looking for is a guide and say, look, I don't care if you ever buy from me, but here's some information about the industry. Here's some information about the solution. And here's how we see the world, right? And be that trusted advisor in certain spaces, depending on your solution. But my opinion is that these buyers do not want to be sold, especially today. No one wants to be sold anymore. They all want to buy from you. So you just need to give them the right information so they can make good decisions. And you need to arm them with information. That's I think, generically what you should do across all these different sales cycles is figure out it's a content game. It's a content game. Give them great content that they can digest and share with their peers and
Hmm.
help make it simple and easy for them to understand. Because you got to remember, buyers are looking at a lot of different stuff. They're getting hit with marketing jargon all day long. They have no idea what's real. They have no idea what's demo versus, a real demo versus slideware. They have no idea, if you integrate to all their existing systems. They have no idea on the change management. It's not easy. So our
Hmm.
job, sellers' jobs, founders' jobs is to go figure out how do I take all this complicated information about my company, my software, my services, and distill it down and make it super simple and just guide this buyer on their journey.
Hmm.
And if you do that, so you're pulling instead of pushing, they'll have more respect for you. They'll eventually give you more time when they're ready. And that's how you build trust over a long period of time. Because in the enterprise, you know this well, this isn't a short-term game.
Yeah.
Deals we're closing right now, I've met with these companies 4 years ago. told them about what we're doing 4 years ago, right? And now they're
Yeah.
finally moving forward. So this is a
Excellent. Launch this cycle.
long-term game. That's
Yeah.
another thing is this don't ever think in the enterprise it's a short-term game. It never is a short-term game. Never. Even if you're OpenAI, it's not a short-term game because they're trying to go from getting users paying $20 a month on their credit card to paying $10 million for enterprise deals with custom data models, which
You
is a
bet.
great business, right? But those deals aren't
Point.
happening overnight.
Good point. No, I like it. I think the crux is that you're right. You have to be in it for the long haul, and I think education, as you said, is a critical piece. So that totally resonates, and I hope it resonates with the other listeners as well. So, one of the things, again, just my observation and some of the conversation in the past with you, you were very, very focused on the customer success element, which was our kind of the post sales. So talk to me about that. I mean, we obviously see the trend, but you were in the very early days. I remember that you were super, super, gung ho on, hey, this is how I'm going to approach and make sure the customers who are putting faith in my product and my platform are successful. So help me, so, kind of, if you don't mind indulging there, that'll be great. Just to understand how you went about it and what really drove you to have such a big focus on customer success.
Yeah, so we did invest, you know, a lot early on in what we call customer operations, which is everything post sales.
You got it.
And we still do. In fact, we made a big hire today. I hired a senior gentleman that has years of experience at Salesforce and Capgemini. We made a hire today on the post sales side.
Love it.
Why? Because we have a land and expand motion with our customers. We land in one department, but 13 departments could be using Terzo. So we have to really help with the implementation. There's a lot of data, a lot of integrations, a lot of configuration. We have to help with the change management. We have to help with the end user adoption. We have to help with solutioning new use cases. We can't put all that work on our customers because they don't have enough resources or bandwidth to do this. So we want to make it a light lift for them. And we knew that the only way we get adoption, the only way we get expansion is if we have a really smooth customer success engagement model where we make their lives easy and we support them and we're truly like a partner, almost like staff aug extension of the team,
Hmm.
and all make their lives simply focused around logging into Terzo, getting access to the data they need, searching, porting, finding pricing data, whatever it is, but not worrying about all the other things that come along with, deploying an enterprise platform because there's a lot that comes along with that. So we knew that this was going to be critical to our strategy long term of expansion and getting multiple departments to be able to adopt Terzo. And it's not an easy task when you're talking about companies that operate in 100 countries and have
Hmm.
people all over the globe. It's a lot of people management, it's a lot of collaboration, it's a lot of meetings, and we also do a lot of face-to-face time, Karan, which I think you appreciate. But that's something that we also do as part of our brand. We go visit our customers in their offices, and we're going to continue to do that as much as possible.
I couldn't agree more. I think a lot of companies out there, I think sometimes it's overlooked. I think it's critical through my personal experience, and I like that land and expand. It's always easy if the customer you have acquired, like once that acquired customer is there, I mean, keeping them happy, I think the overall ROI goes up. So that's I think is spot on. Just kind of building upon that, right? Customer, you guys have seen a pretty amazing growth, and congratulations to you and your team on that. But I would love to, also sort of understand from you, it's hard to project like how quickly will an organization grow, and so the timelines can be pretty tricky. So I'm very curious, how did you and your team figured out sort of the platform aspect, the scale, the growth, that hey, as we grow, the sales grow, are we sure that our platform will grow and we don't, the customer experience will remain the same? So just curious, what was some of the strategies you adopted on that front where the backbone, the platform itself is able to scale as fast as your sales was going?
Yeah, that's very tricky, right? And I guess the long and short answer of it is you have to have constant communication between your engineering team, your sales team, and your leadership team. And it's very complicated when you have 40 or 50 engineers building and you got salespeople driving cycles with new requirements. We have what I call over communication from sales to engineering, right? And we have them on a lot of calls, which is not a best practice, but it's the only way that we could meet the requirements on these timelines and work at this speed. So our engineers and our customers probably find it interesting. We have engineers that write code on a lot of calls. That's not typical. And we have a co-founder, Pradeep, on a lot of calls. We have our COO, Eric, on a lot of calls. We have our Dr. Redwine, head of AI, on a lot of calls. We are constantly in the loop on what our customers are asking for and what they need and trying to prioritize it as a company, not as a department. So that is it's something that I pushed early on because I didn't want to have the information get filtered from me down to the engineering team or from Spencer down to the engineering team. And then every time someone tells you something, it gets more and more diluted, right? Oh, and then even if you share a recording on Gong, which a lot of the calls we can't record, but even if we did record it, well, the engineers sit down at home with their kids and listen to the recording and while they're having dinner. I mean, it's not that effective, right? So they need to be there live on the call in the meetings and then hearing what the customers needed, especially the big customers. So we have what we call the G500 accounts, and those are the big global 500 that basically are all seven-figure type of customers, if not more.
Hmm.
Anytime there's a new requirement or a really, an urgent need, we get full leadership and all engineering on the call. And then we decide, is this how we're going to prioritize this? Would we put this in the backlog? How do we do this? So we have by committee basically when it comes to moving at this pace, because right now, for example, we just committed to a few big deployments, a few big rollouts. We got to go hire 5 engineers in the next 3-4 weeks to go build more. So that happens occasionally, but we're at that point now where the deals are getting bigger and more complex. So we're trying to balance our engineering requirements with the sales growth. And literally, we have a call. It's actually usually at this time on Thursdays. I moved it to tomorrow. So every Thursday, usually we have this call, demand call, and talk across leadership, sales, and engineering about all the requirements from our customers and prospective customers.
Seems like keeping the pulse, keeping your, the pulse on the business. That's kind of how you guys are sort of going about it, which I think is totally, totally makes sense.
Probably
So
not
on that,
scalable. Probably not scalable at this level.
yeah,
But the thing is that
building a
we
solid foundation. Yeah,
yeah, but we believe that we can go public with 80 customers.
yeah.
We don't need 2,000 customers to go public, right? We don't need 2,000 customers to be a successful business. We're going to have very, very big customers driving a lot of revenue, and we can be more hands-on in the beginning, and then we're going to more productize our solution and then have it more out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no way to get around some of this, complex enterprise deployments and configuration in the beginning. There's a lot of data and services work that has to happen to make the AI a reality. So there's no getting around that work right now. There's no automating some of this data work that needs to get done.
Okay, on the same lines, right? Executives love dashboards these days, interactive, real-time dashboards. So, what are one or two KPIs you obsess like daily? Kind of just know that Terzo is sort of on track. Just curious, what are those couple metrics you're
We
always?
do love we do love dashboards. One thing I've been looking at a lot recently, of course, I've been just heavily involved in the pipeline and the deals that, we're constantly driving. And the metric that, I've looked at a lot, which is different for, I think, a growth company versus like a big enterprise company, is the average deal size, ASP, right? Average sale price. That's a metric that I'm constantly looking at. Last year, the average sale price in the pipeline, right? The average deal size was around 120,000. And it was solid. It's not bad. 120K a deal, right? Six figures. This year it's 400 right now. The average sale price of our pipeline, any deal in the pipeline that's qualified, $400,000. So it's a massive jump, 3.5x there. So I'm always looking at that number. What is the average sale looking like, right? So that's a good sign. That number continued to go up and up and up. And then I'm also looking at, how many departments are we landing in these first deals on the when we do sign a customer, right? Are we landing in just one department? Are we landing in two departments? Or are we, like, are we enterprise wide? Right now, I mean, most of our deals we land in just one department, just one, which is okay, right? But I told the team we needed to get better at selling up front and landing two or three. Now we've just landed a couple of deals where there's two departments
Interesting.
on the first deal, right? Now
Yeah.
it's like, okay, now that's showing me that the team is getting better at pitching the value up front and getting better in the sales cycle of explaining, making bigger commitments, right? In the future, just like you would with Azure, and getting them to sign up front by pitching that value and explaining the Terzo value prop much better in the sales cycle, which is showing me that the sales reps are getting better, right? And then I look at, it's an interesting stat for the CEO to look at, because I'm the, chief marketing officer effectively for the foreseeable future, which is, kind of just fell into this role and learning as we go. But I am enjoying it and learning about some of these marketing techniques. But I can tell you, for example, I look at the website traffic every single day. And we use RB2B as a tracker, but we also use, Google Analytics and HubSpot. And I can tell you that in August of 2024, we had 272 visitors to the website. And in August 2025, we had 12,100.
Wow, that's a great.
And yeah, and in July of this year, we had 18,500. So the web traffic has drastically went up, incredible amounts. I look at that all the time to see how the brand is doing out there because we're doing a lot of guerrilla marketing. We're doing a lot of non-traditional things. We're not doing like Google SEO ads and all that kind of stuff. We're doing more like in-person events. And we're doing more dark social, and we're doing referrals and all this type of stuff. So we're seeing, in social campaigns, we're trying to run some social campaigns, and we're seeing how that is helping the brand get out
Mhm.
there, and the amount of inbound leads is drastically increased as well. So some of these things are working, some of these campaigns we're doing. So I'm constantly looking to see how much traffic's coming to the website and where it's coming from and the type of traffic we're getting.
Love it, love it. No, that's fantastic. And your comment around, I think you mentioned the departments. If you're able to land the value right off the bat and expand, I think that's probably seems like you're keeping tabs on that, and that's probably translating into a bigger pipeline and resulting into bigger size deal, right? So I think that totally makes sense. So let me ask you one more here. What's sort of one of the most interesting in leadership lesson you have learned in these last few years? Something which you sort of never predicted when probably you drafted your founding deck. So just curious, what are some of the leadership lessons you have learned and you would like to sort of share with the audience?
Well, biggest leadership lesson I learned in the last 5 years, especially with everything that's went on between, this chaos between the beginning of the pandemic and everything that happened since the pandemic, that this is really a game of how to manage your emotions across a team of very different type of people and personalities and traits. And you have to have a ton of empathy to manage all of these different people because you don't know what they're going through at home. You don't know what's happening in their life day to day. You don't know what pain they went through. You don't know what their kids are going through. You can't really ask these questions. And being a leader and leading this team during volatile times, you see the worst in people, you see the best in people, and you have to react to that. And it's extremely difficult to do that because you can't just be on autopilot and show up and say, hey, I got my goals today. Here's my agenda. Here's what I want to get done. You have someone shows up and said, hey, I just had to get my son at the hospital. He just fell off his bike and, crushed his head. He's got stitches. Okay, wow. Okay, yeah, you got to deal with that. No problem, right? That happens all the time. Or you have people that come to you and, they've lost, you know, people to death and they've said, hey, I need the month off. Okay, we had a, employee had suicide scare with his daughter, had to be out for 2 months. So all those things have happened, and you as a leader are not ready to handle that. You're not trained for that.
Yeah.
How do you handle and emotionally, uh, you know, I guess, communicate to your employees to make them feel comfortable? How do you listen to them? How do you give them solutions? How do you stay positive? How do you not panic and take that energy into the next meeting and still treat people fairly, but also still have a balance of getting the job done and meeting your requirements for your customers and your investors and everybody else? You have to have a really healthy balance. But at the same time, when you're dealing with 50 or 60, or we have 82 people now, there's going to be HR challenges all over the place and you're not prepared for what's coming your way and how to handle it. And you have to react and you can't react emotionally. Otherwise, then it just kind of adds fuel to the fire and people get upset and it creates a bigger issue. And as the CEO and founder, you need to really understand emotional intelligence and you need to understand energy and where to use it or not to use it and how to empathize with your people because you don't know what they're going through. You want to give them the benefit of the doubt. You want to be fair to them. You want to be patient with them, especially your people that have worked, really hard and done great work for us. But at the same time, it is a challenge because there's no formal training for this. There's no formal training as all these different smart adults too. And I always laugh as well. I always tell, our head of HR, who's one of my best friends, I tell him it's one thing to run a company and have 10 people report to you. It's one thing to run an AI company and have 10 really, really smart, high performance people report to you that have PhDs from Harvard, right? And are high performance animals like yourself who can work 80 hours a week and demand the best from everyone, and they're on all the time, and they expect you to show up and get, and solve problems like this. And you got a team of 10 of those type of people, it's a blessing. But at the same time, are you ready energetically and emotionally to
Engage
handle
and
that?
have them
And there's no
thrive.
and there's no training for it, Quran, right? There's no one that say, "Oh, I want to get ready." You have to just jump in and then get buried,
Yeah.
hit with all these things, and then just learn. And you have to get better. That's the key, right? You have to learn, make mistakes, fix the mistakes, and
Growth
figure out
mindset.
make mistakes twice, right? And that's what I do. And I've made a lot of mistakes, obviously. Probably continue to make mistakes here and there as a CEO, but I don't make the same mistake twice. And I learn, and I know I'm not. I know I don't have all the answers. I know I don't know everything. That's why I hire smart people. I listen to the people I work with. I trust my people. I do my best, but I always try to do what I feel is ethically, morally the right thing. I
Love it.
always try to make decisions as a leader, regardless of anything that happens with all this, HR, emotional stuff, financial stuff with investors. I always try to make decisions without money involved first and make the right decision spiritually, energetically. And then I worry about the money afterward.
Love it.
And I'm
Love
learning
it.
that if I continue to do that, and I stay honest with myself and with our people, and my heart's in the right place, then I feel like I'm going to continue to get better and to continue to, get this training, real life training. But I'm telling you right now, there's no way you can go to a course or read anything to be prepared for the things that get thrown at you as this founder and CEO as you're growing a company, because there's just so
Much.
many things.
Yeah. But we got to practice a growth mindset. I love it. So, Brandon, looking out 3 to 5 years, what's your moonshot for Terzo?
3 to 5 years, Moonshot for Terzo. We're the de facto enterprise relationship intelligence platform. Big enterprises are running on Terzo. They're not running on SAP and Oracle anymore. They're running on new rails, contracts on chain, Web3, DeFi. Terzo's got all your contract assets, and you can pay in stable coins on chain, on Ledger. Deal with
Love
all
it.
the currency exchanges. All your data is in one beautiful place. CFO command center. No junk old software. No on-prem bullshit. No $50 million ERP implementations. No $200 million contracts with Deloitte. No consultants sitting around the world doing nothing, getting paid $300 an hour to update your ERP system from 1998. That is what I see the next 3 to 5 years.
Love it.
And I can promise you, Oracle and SAP are amazing companies. Obviously, they own the CFO office. They're
Yes.
both great. I can't say enough good things about Larry. Larry Ellison is he's
Class act. He's a
he's the
class.
best.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, he's the best. He's the best to ever do it. And Oracle's an incredible company. I got nothing but love and respect for Oracle. I really do. And what they built and how they came back and everything that Larry just did. But at the same time, when I talked to a 36-year-old future CFO and I asked him, "Hey, are you going to run SAP or Oracle ERP in your shop?" He's like, "Absolutely not. No way in hell am I running one of those old systems." So I'm like, I have my answer right there. All those young people are going to be in power very soon.
Capitalizing on the
They're
demographics.
going to be very excited about this black and purple software called Terzo.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, wow,
I
this is
love those
an AI
colors. I love the
company. I think I'll
colors.
put the financial data over here. So that's what I wake up to go fight for every day.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big market, but all I know is that the financial system right now is beyond broken.
Mm-hmm.
Is disturbingly ancient and broken with
Yeah.
the way things are done. That is all going to change, as you know, with DeFi and crypto and everything that's happening and this, new quantum financial system. And remember, I said that QFS,
Yep.
quantum
Quantum financial system.
financial system. Urzo is going to be a
Capitalize on it.
leader in the quantum financial system. This fiat stuff, this Federal Reserve, this old banking crap with all this nonsense, Federal Reserve Act of 1913 scam, charging interest on printed money. Anyone that took a math class knows it's all a scam and the scam is over with. And I can tell you right now that the new world is here.
I love it.
Not the new world order,
Yeah.
much different from the new world order. The new
Love it.
world is here, and the new world is here, and things will be on
Different.
ledger. Only the big banks will survive. All the other banks, see you later. You don't add any value. Don't need you. Welcome to the new world.
Love it. Love it. Love it. What a beautiful way to wrap it up. I love the enthusiasm. infectious, but wishing you and the Terzo team all the success. It's always a pleasure and enlightening to have a conversation with you, my friend. Thanks again for taking the time. Again, as I said, really would love to have you in the future as well. So, yeah, thanks again for taking the time.
You always got me. I'm one text away. I appreciate the time. Always good to spend time with you, Karan. Thanks for having me on, and
Absolutely.
yeah, look forward
Thank
to being back, and hopefully, audience enjoys the conversation.
Awesome. Absolutely. I'm sure they will. That was Brendan Card, CEO and founder, Terzo. Brendan, thanks a lot. Cheers.
Thank you so much.